start recording. And we're going to, so I'm going to switch back and forth between camera angle and the manual. So I have assembled the frame ahead of time. I don't have a flat enough surface right here to easily assemble it on camera. So I followed the manual instructions and did this on my kitchen countertops. So let's just start. So like I said, feel free to chat. Just realize I will be posting the recording to YouTube. And any DMs or pings, I'm going to hear them, but I'm not necessarily going to be able to pay attention to them. Scroll through.
Your voice sounds oddly familiar.
Oddly familiar?
Mm,
From like personal life or online or?
I think online.
I mean, I just did the Trident release stream.
Not. I was gonna say that you kind of sound a bit like me, but I don't know.
Oh. So I'm gonna just skip by the manual or the frame parts of the manual. And I think we're gonna start with the gantry parts. So all of this, and I haven't inserted heat sets or anything. So, I mean, we're going to be doing all of that. So let me gather all the parts. Heat set. I think I can scooch this back a little bit. How's the camera angle? Seem reasonable?
It's pretty good from here.
Okay. So I figure basically I did the gold V0 stream a couple of months ago. So I figure this will go about the same, except I'm not going to try to do it all in one shot. For one thing, I don't have a couple of parts finished. So I still want, I'm going to put a LGX extruder on this, at least to start. And I still need to design a couple of parts for that. So. Okay. And the little idler accent pieces. Heat sets. And I guess for future streams, I should probably figure out some way to put some background music on, I take it.
Stream beats.
Stream beats, yeah.
Oh, and also for anybody that may be on mobile and try to do full screen where you don't have everybody else on here, hit the little three-dot menu on the top corner and uncheck the thing that says show participants without video. You'll just get a full screen.
Or just click the video.
So this is a actual LDO V or Trident frame. So those are in production. He's not going to be producing them, at least at start, in orange, but he made orange at my request. So everything appears to be in the right spots and went together well. So he moved forward with production on those. idlers. I gotta figure out an easy way to switch between the manual and the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna be having to jump around my workbench. And washers. 5 shims. We have here. Are you able to hear me now, RX Death? Everything working fine on your side? I counted out all the hardware I was going to need ahead of time, but trying to make sure the counts I have in the manual are correct. What do you have for the...
That orange frame looks quite nice.
Yeah, I think my favorite is still the green, but I do like this.
Where'd you get the frame from?
From LDO.
Yeah, I got mine from some random Chinese vendor for 120 beans.
I messed that one up. Cover. Haha. Yeah, I don't know what the final price on that they're going to end up setting for the LDO frames.
If I'm entirely honest, 120 seems to be about what I would expect the LDOs to be at, but without having a final idea, I can't say that for sure.
Exactly. And the cost of things have gone up, which we haven't seen reflected in the current like 2.4 frames and stuff. So we may see that in new things that come out. We'll see.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so front idler assembly. Let's see what's next. So part of this is also just going through and making sure that the manual is what I expect. My stack of screws is going to be fun to sift through. Where's the 40s? There they are. Go, no spider. Oh, there it is. Browser. I'll do this.
Oh, is it a party in here?
Of course.
Oh, heck yeah. What are we staring at? The manual?
Right now, we're switching back and forth between the manual and the build. So, not trying to do a speed build, just trying to be somewhat efficient and try not to have too much just sitting here.
Building the 1.9?
Yep, Trident. So let's. Okay, got that done. Got that done. That. Then on to the A drive. Need hotkeys set up for this. Bearing stacks. Okay. So everything is shim, bearing shim. And what do we have? Oops. Had the wrong part. There we go. A drive. Oh. These chunky steppers have cooled down, Jared. Eventually.
Very nice. Glad to hear. Took a little while, I'm sure.
Yes. And I've got a pile of other parts that I have to. Okay. So I'm going to go with some 60 millimeter steppers here on Jared's suggestion.
And don't forget the secret sauce that makes all that work.
Secret sauce. I don't know what you're talking about.
25 tooth pulleys.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, did I say that out loud?
I didn't know if I was supposed to say that out loud, so I was just gonna
Sure.
let it. I was just gonna let it slide.
I mean, there's nothing particularly special about them. They're direct
Yeah.
order from Pouch.
Yeah. So trying some 25 tooth drive pulleys on these. Jared
They
has
are
had some
still
good suggestion. Why don't you talk about it a little bit? That'd be awesome.
sure. So with some of the changes to the steppers going from 1.8s to 0.9s, for some people in particular, I think we still spec the 1.8s. Basically, the amount of resolution you gain from it is nice, but it increases noise as you go faster, and it reduces top speed versus 1.8s. So the 25 tooth pulleys are actually an even step number, just like the 20 tooth pulleys would be. And what it ends up doing is basically giving you the best of both worlds. You get, I believe it's like still a 60% resolution bonus over a 1.8 degree stepper, but it also gives you basically the same speed as a 1.8 stepper. So all the benefits, none of the downsides. And I've been running them on my personal rig for, I mean, it's probably been close to 6 months at this point. And there's the big chunky guy in there now,
That is
and they run super well.
And it is a tight fit. We actually got wrongly machined parts, and I had to turn that down on a lathe to bring it back to spec. But it fits.
Yep.
It fits when it's in spec. There's enough clearance.
There is enough clearance.
Yes.
But yeah, they work out really well. They also reduce some of the noise since the stepper motor doesn't have to rotate as far for a movement. So again, all the benefits and none of the downsides. The only real downside is that they're a little bit harder to find versus normal 20 tooth pulleys. So the only manufacturer I found for them is the one that we suggest, though, which is Pouch or however you want to pronounce that. And yeah, so they do have those available on their AliExpress store. And as far as I'm aware, they're still shipping as fast as everything else. So if you're building a new build and want to consider it, by all means.
Okay. Get the other chunky boy.
And also for reference on those are LDO 60 millimeter steppers we're using there. It's the 2004 MAH, I believe is the model number. 0.9 degree steppers, 2 amp. And they should work quite nicely for what we're planning on using both his and my printer for. I also have an Orange Frame 250, which LDO enough to send me after hearing about Steve's Orange Frame 250. And those 60 millimeter steppers should have plenty of torque for some rapid prototyping. So we're expecting with this combination some pretty high speeds out of it.
I'm not sure that. Oh, I did get it on the flat. Okay. I wasn't sure I got that stepper on the flat.
Yeah, it's kind of harder with those 25 tooths to do.
Well, I made that neat little pulley alignment tool and then forgot to print it too, so I'm just aligning it by eye. Okay. How many people do we have in here? 11, that's not bad. Let's see here. Okay. I'm not sure that I machined these all the way down to the 19 millimeters because I got a little bit of rubbing on this one. I'll look at that later though.
Yeah, a little bit of rubbing shouldn't cause any issues because the belt will still be coupled together. So they'll move in sync with one another. But it's probably the chamfer on the inner lip on that would be causing you some frustrations, if anything.
Yep. Okay, where are we at? So I did that. Installed the steppers. Got the B drive. Now they want to put it on the frame. Okay. Let's see if I have something short. There we go. Now, there we go. This side, they're all M5. The other side has one M3 snuck in there. LDO did find some T-nuts that seem to work better, and a couple of these are taking some very mild persuasion, but nothing like some of the others. Those just went in by hand.
We're still on the guide screen, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm just sitting here putting in T-nuts.
Very exciting.
Yes.
I'm actually seeing if I have enough space to put in a zip tie. I do. Tanker. In between that new right angle connector and a rail side.
Some of these are, there we go. That one went in. Okay, so this back right corner is the one you have to pay attention to. if you notice on the manual, I don't know if my cursor shows, but this front bottom is an M3 T-nut. So I'm gonna make sure that we catch that. So an M5 to the rear on the bottom. Bottom, and then an M3. Then two M5s on the top.
And just as another comment for those of you that may be interested in the Trident, and I've told Steve this already, but the attention to detail that he's put into a lot of this design work makes the assembly really quick and really easy. And it is very much appreciated. So thank you again, Steve.
Well, thank you.
Not to be a commentator over here, but I'll
Well,
throw things in as I see fit, if you're okay.
We need someone to talk besides me. So
Feel like you're in an echo chamber of your own voice?
A little bit. That's okay though. Sure, people will warm up. Had a lot of chatter going on in the V0 stream, so I'm sure it'll come around.
People just have to figure out how to unmute those microphones, I guess.
Let's see. We got that. Let's install the front idlers. Okay. Front idler.
Some people have finally found how to work push to talk on Discord. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, Sanity's here.
Hello. Hi guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm just hanging out looking at stuff while I'm trying to source ports.
What are you trying to source?
Hopefully a Trident if he's watching this stream.
2.4, but you know, I'll watch what I'm gonna watch.
I see how it is.
Yeah, I've been drawing over 2.4 for the past year. It's finally time that I can bite the bullet. I'm happy.
There you go.
What are you trying
Well,
to
congrats.
source with 2.4?
Yeah, Steve, these little, quarter turn, I guess you would call them, bed panel holders / zip tie locations are also awesome. I'm doing my wiring as we speak. And
Nice.
so far, they've already come very much in handy.
There we go. Why is that not threading in? Is that not a 10? Oh, an 8mm screw snuck in there. That's why.
I've got a few of those myself floating around, I feel like, in a couple
There we
of
go.
spots.
That works. I'll set that aside so I can keep that count. Okay. Just loosen the bolt there so this can snap over the extrusion.
I'm actually going to print some more of those little quarter turn guys because I need more zip tie spots.
Yeah.
Sorry, joined late. What size frame is that?
It's a 250. My development build was a 300 because that's the 1.8 frame that Jason had left over from the group buy they did. So I bought that from him before. I mean, I bought that before I knew I was going to do the development on Trident. I was just going to build a V1 and help Eddie with what at the time was 1.9. So I have a limited space on my bench here, so for my second build, I wanted it to be a 250. Okay.
All right, Steve, remind me what the name of that file is for those little quarter turns for the panel with the zip ties. Because I know you know offhand.
Deck support. It'll probably be in the panels folder.
Deck support. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, got the 2 front idlers installed. Move on to the AV drives. We'll just loosen the. Let me switch back to the camera. Loosen these just to have a little more compliance in the plastic. Line up the T-nuts.
By the way, thanks for naming the printer. Actually, yesterday there was a nice case of a guy who was assuming that, hey, 2.4 is the highest number, so it's the best, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that people seem to have taken a while to what the team came up with for a name, and everybody seems to understand the reasoning behind it, because it was like the example you just said. It's definitely something that people just assume the higher number is the better printer, and we wanted to steer people more towards looking at the particular design to determine its merit on that rather than just a number.
Even though technically speaking, Legacy is the newest model. Not
Hey,
upgrade.
what's going on in here?
Steve is assembling Trident.
Oh, nice. How have you been, Sanity? Haven't spoken in a while.
Hey, hello. Fine. Just returned from my parents from Slovakia. We can travel now after a
nice.
year. Awesome.
Oh, it's so funny. Some of my friends were planning to go to Morocco soon, and apparently now it's shut down.
Oh crap.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try not to mention this too much just because it'll get repetitive. I am gonna post this, or planning on posting this to YouTube. So everybody should be welcome to chat. Just understand that it will be maybe just unlisted, but it'll be up there.
Okay, so don't dox yourself.
Exactly. That's kind of just that. Anything you're comfortable with saying out in the open should be fine, but just be aware.
Is that an LDO frame kit?
It is. It is. So
is that a new color?
As the developer of the printer, Jason sent me the pre-production 1.9 spec or Trident frame. So it is
I
not.
got the other one.
It is not likely to be available in orange, at least to start. That'll kind of be dependent on folks' demand. So, okay. So I'm going to switch back to the manual. Got those installed. And I am going to be using the little micro switch and stop. Oop, I switched to the manual, so I am going to be using the little micro switch and stop PCB board. So in the manual here, there is the little bumper piece. You would remove that little piece of plastic if you're going to use a magnet and a Hall effect sensor. But I'm going to leave it in place. So 12.
And that goes back to my
16.
previous statement about thinking of all the details. So instead of having to do something for one part or the other, it's the same part with a knockout piece.
Yeah, I think you can see that knockout. Just a little
Yes.
outline of it. So 3 by 12 and a 16. And we're just gonna move.
Oh wait, Steve, didn't you have like a very long beard? I remember from Switchwire stream.
I
Is
did.
this like your
I did.
COVID beard?
Well, I was growing that for quite some time. Oops, I put a screw in wrong. I was growing that for quite some time before COVID, just because I never had before. My dad, I grew up, always had a really long beard. I never did, so I decided to. But then COVID hit, and it's really irritating having a beard with a mask. So. And my wife wasn't too fond of it. So, and I'm dropping everything. I gotta make sure that that is lined up. There we go. So between my wife not being fond of it and wearing a mask being really irritating, I decided to cut it off. There we go.
You didn't get one of them fancy electric screwdrivers yet?
No, I have fancy like RC hobbyist quality screwdrivers. I like these. This is Team Associated, ball end 2.5 millimeter. Okay.
I support your choice of ergonomic screwdrivers.
Okay, next.
I'm still in the process of getting our company all on Vera tools. I'm kind of sad we can't get Vera torque wrenches though, because their primary torque indication is in Newton meters.
Oh.
And unfortunately, we're on this side of the Atlantic Ocean, and we must use inch pounds.
Yeah, I needed to buy a torque wrench recently, and I had my eyes on Vera torque wrench, but it's just too expensive. Okay, so a bunch of M5s on the little cross gantry piece. No reason.
The funny part for us is the Vera tools were actually cheaper than what we ended up going with.
Oh, yeah.
Like we ended up going with like a gray tools torque wrenches, and they're like $400-$500
Whew.
A piece or a set?
a piece.
Uh,
I mean, we're doing production, so like we need like all
Yeah,
the stuff, calibration
calibrated.
certificate,
Yep.
calibration
that's
agreement,
good.
so that we could send it to them for calibration. It's all very important stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you can spend $200 instead of $400, it's nice.
I thought
Yeah.
they missed out the zero, you know. It's like 40 to 50, not 400 to 500.
Loosen these a little bit just to get some more compliance in the joint.
I mean, working now in manufacturing for a few years, it's given me kind of an appreciation of like reliability. And yet, for some reason, for my first 3D printer, I brought a Creality.
So did
But I
I.
guess I wasn't. I guess I wasn't like fully sure whether I'd have much use of it. And to be honest, like I use it very infrequently now because I don't care much for decorative and I want to print practical, but I don't have that many practical things to print.
Printers. That's what we all do, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. I'm just I'm putting off designing a new tool head for it because I put a dragonfly on it and I want more cooling now, but there's just no way to get decent cooling with the stock tool head.
Dragonfly HIC or regular?
Just regular, a BMS.
Gotcha.
But
The
I
reason I
want
ask,
dual cooling fans.
well, the reason I ask is because I've got a Dragonfly HIC on my Trident 250 that I'm staring at right now that I modified Bad Noob's ABB and 30 to fit. So, just curious. I wouldn't mind sharing the models for that if somebody needed them.
How? Well, like Fadus releases the models for that, didn't they? Like, but I know they're not always accurate.
Yeah, they've got the model out, and the model itself is accurate. So I had no issues with that, but I did have to redesign since there was no style for the Dragonfly. Whichever one's got the Creality type mount, I forget between the BMO and the, whatever the other one is. But
It's the BMS, yeah.
BMS. So the Dragonfly HIC has the BMS style mount. So I basically had to create a new mount for that, and then also extend the ductwork on the ABB N30 to go down the extra like 10 millimeters that it needs for the HIC.
BMS is the Creality mount? Or it's the BMO?
The side mount is the BMS, and
Oh,
funny enough, it doesn't actually fit. Like the heater block interferes with the carriage plate,
oh.
so like you're obligated to make an adapter and to space it a little further away from the carriage plate, and also because most Crealities come with a Mark 6, the nozzle height doesn't match any of the existing cooling ducts.
Oh,
So
Wing and a miss.
you have to print new cooling ducts as well. If you're putting it on a Creality printer, of course.
I figured. So this is where you need to design your ducts.
Yeah. Also, the BL Touch I have mounted right now also doesn't work very well. It pretty much in the retracted position, it's about half a millimeter above the nozzle, which is way too close for my comfort.
okay. Have
Half a millimeter is pretty tough. Yeah.
Like I see it put down the first layer and I'm kind of scared, and then I see it printing and I'm kind of scared because if I get any kind of blobbing or it lifts, uh, there's a chance that it could hit the BL Touch.
just confirm I'm perpendicular on the rear gantry extrusion. It looks good. To tighten these. And then there's some play in the two screws that go in from the side here to allow you to make sure that it's perfectly flush with the back extrusions. I am going to put myself on mute for about 1 minute while I go and grab something I can spread across there to make sure that everything is kosher. Okay, I'm back. I'm just gonna clamp this level here.
Well, that's a way to do it. I like that.
Yeah, why not? And we can tighten these up.
Okay, this is some big brain time.
Make sure we're still all good. Yep. We are good.
Yeah, I still need to think of a way of what to do with the electronics once I build a Trident, because I had a plan originally to build a V1 and put a skirt on it, and then just like put like a paver in the bottom. But now that's where all the electronics go.
Okay, we did that. We did that. We installed the little brackets. We made sure everything was positioned properly. Now we get to turn it upside down and install some rails. Okay. My box of handy dandy Trident parts.
You mean like keep the electronic on the at the back of the printer, and at the bottom have just like a concrete piece?
Yeah. The plan was just put like I don't know, some kind of simple drawer in there,
Uh-huh.
and do something like like a large paver, something like, I don't know, 300 by 300 or so.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, now you have to put it underneath the printer.
I mean, I suppose there's technically room for a backpack. Just do some weird hybrid V1.8 and Trident build.
Oh, I could see that. It's a funny name, backpack. I didn't know it's called like that.
I've heard Nero refer to it as a backpack. I don't know if it had an official name.
Here, I think it's
Backpack.
8.
Nero had some lovely hair yesterday.
Oh, that.
This
Yeah, I
stream
tuned
is
into.
sponsored
I
by
tuned.
Keeps.
Yeah, I tuned into the stream. I was like, "Whoa, who's this guy?"
That's Nero Ross, if you've never heard of him. He's a big painter.
Okay. Let me see. I didn't print any rail guides. I think I have some though. I hope I have some. Put those. Uh-oh. Where did I put those?
So do the caliper route.
I feel like they're just in one of these bins somewhere. Ah, there they are. Woohoo! See, I have a bin that just has all kinds of stuff, and that part that Jared would recognize. Nope,
Wait, what?
that's.
I missed it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely would recognize that.
Can I
Nobody
guess
else
what
would.
it is?
Sure.
Or what it was? Oh.
Ah,
Okay.
One of the parts I designed, actually. Well, actually, was that the one I designed? Yeah, that was, wasn't it?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what it was?
Hmm.
It had some round hole inside. That looks like a motor mount, right?
I mean, potentially.
Okay, now which one?
One that most people would not know about.
Okay, I give up.
I'm gonna just dox all of Jared's projects on this. So I have all of the rail alignment guides in there for MGN 12. Not. Okay, well, we're going to continue and pretend, and I'm going to use a caliper, but I'll probably come back and confirm after I print a part to fix that. Because I don't think we're going to get far enough. We may not get far enough in this stream for that to matter. But I don't know why I don't have a set of those just somewhere. I've used them. We still on and going?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, quick question, because I've been looking at this. I've actually got a LDO 2.4 frame I didn't use.
Mm-hmm.
The arms on the gantry need to go all the way. On a 2.4, they don't. But now the bottom plate, the two rods that we, or two extrusions that we use to mount the bed, those would be the proper length to go on the sides. If
Yeah.
I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, I think they would. I think you're right. The concern I would have is that for a given size, what the hell happened there? For a given size, the 2.4 is shorter than a Trident. So your corner vertical extrusions on all the spec sizes are 500 millimeters long for Trident. And that's all centered around using the 300 millimeter lead screw steppers.
This is the 350 frame. Trying to think what that would come out to be.
So what? I don't know what the
2.4 is a 480 or 530. 50. Hang on.
that might work out for you then.
520 something.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's right around 500. I think you're right, but I have to go look it up.
Yeah, it might work out.
Because I know the acrylic panels are 484 by 504 on a 350 build.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So really and truly, it would be one piece of extrusion for the back, and then the extrusion, which I hadn't looked at the bottom of the bed on this one yet, and whatever frames out the bottom. I'm sure there's some extrusion there. I'm assuming.
For what part?
I haven't looked up underneath the bed and seen how the bed's mounting. I'm assuming we're using some extrusion to frame out underneath the bed or something.
I can show you. I've got that part over here and assembled. This is the bed. So this comes in here like this, basically. When this is the back of the printer.
Yeah, and with that being miscolored and not matching the LDO, that's not that big a deal.
Yeah, you see the front one pretty directly from the front of the printer, but the one pointing towards the back is not important. What do I have here? I'm going to see how long it takes to spin up a V0 and get a part out.
Oh, you know what? The parts that you would not use for the arms that aren't long enough to do on the sides, you could absolutely cut those down and make your bed frame out of that.
Absolutely. That's a good call.
So you're really just a piece of extrusion on the back, and you could convert a 2.4. Well, if it's tall enough. I'm sorry.
I am trying to do a quick print on one of the V0s for those rail guides. It should only take about 10 minutes.
Does anyone here have a Dragonfly HIC? Or someone mentioned they did?
Yeah, Jared.
Yep. What's the question?
The question is, do you think it would work to kind of take the HIC block and use it on like a different Hotend?
Which part of the block are you talking? Like the heater block?
Yeah, like the heater block. Because I'm kind of interested. like in the HIC, but it's kind of all very like non-interchangeable because it needs like a special nozzle and it needs a special heat break for that special nozzle.
Well, the special nozzle has the heat break integrated into it, so it's all one piece.
Oh, okay. I guess I meant like the heatsink. Like you need one that you just put like a heat break size tube into, not like a 6 millimeter or a 7 millimeter hollow tube.
Correct. Yeah, it's literally just like if you were to take like the heat break off of a Dragon, for example. It fits in there, and then it's got a little like a cammed coupler almost that it attaches to, and then you just tighten that down so it doesn't crush it. Probably
But
easier to show you a
like
picture, but yeah.
like I was thinking just hypothetically, like just take just the heater block and obviously the sock from the HIC and just use it with, some other, V6 based thing.
I mean, you can try doing that. The thing is, the heater block's not actually attached to anything except for the nozzle.
But I mean, it's threaded with an M6 all the way through, right?
That part is correct, yes.
So like you could hypothetically just thread a regular M6 heat break into it and then use like a volcano nozzle. Maybe, I don't know how dimensionally how close it is to a volcano block.
It would probably come close to being able to use it like that, yeah. As far as total measurement goes, I'd have to measure the block side of it, but I would say a volcano nozzle and a V6 you could probably make work. You just wouldn't be able to use the actual heatsink portion at the top, which if you're just trying to use the heater block, no reason you'd have to. Although
Yeah,
at that
I mean
point,
the heatsink is like just, I mean a heatsink's a heatsink.
right?
Like not that much heat should even reach it in the first place if the heat
Correct.
break is working right.
But I would have to question your sanity at that point because you would be buying basically 2 hot ends to make 1 hot end,
Yes.
whenever an actual volcano hot end would be at that point probably cheaper to perform the same.
Well, you can buy the block separately. I think. Some some what are they called? Stores sell like
Vendors, yeah.
vendors, yeah, sell spare parts for those. Like I've seen people sell like the bottom plate of a Dragonfly BMO and BMS, like just the little plate,
Yeah,
which seems like extremely not economical to do, but they do as a spare
sure.
part.
Yeah, and you could probably do it that way. So if you wanted to mix and match and make it, but you still effectively have the exact same thing, just with a better heater block. So, I mean, if the better heater block is the goal, I guess that's exactly what you'd want.
Better and thinner. I mean, it's like I want to just take a regular hot end and make it a just like a vertical mount style. Then you can use
Gotcha.
because like here's the problem I kind of saw with the HIC is well, you can't use any other nozzles, and then it's like you don't have much choice when it comes to materials, wear resistance, unless Ruinous or whomever's manufacturing them puts that out.
Yeah, there's definitely a proprietary aspect to it. So if you're trying to get around that, that'll definitely do it. I will say it looks like mine actually came with a hardened steel nozzle. At least it looks like it's a hardened steel nozzle. I guess it could be a coated brass nozzle. Um, but I've not had a chance to test anything with it yet. So yeah, we'll see.
Attach a magnet to it and see.
So I installed those 2 rails, but I'm going to line them up once this print finishes. So we'll move on to, I think the Z assembly. That works. I'm going to need rail aligners too for that, but that's okay. We'll get the Z going. I am going to be using IGUS chains, so I only have to put in 2 heat sets for this.
Magnet test says yes, it is a steel nozzle.
These, turn that on.
What's the advantage or disadvantage of heat break with nozzle? Wasn't it how it used to be way back when? And now it's actually separate heat break and separate nozzle?
That's a good question. I don't know. My whole 3D printing experience has always been when they've been separated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, what am I showing? I'm showing a manual. I didn't show any of that. Okay. Install the.
I think on some like kind of prosumer, like ready to go out of the box printers,
Mm-hmm.
they're actually doing things like integrated heat break nozzles, because they're built around kind of in like an aluminum tool carriage, and for that you basically don't need a heatsink. So you can literally like
Uh-huh.
pop the whole nozzle assembly in and out like that.
But then you usually have to also buy the whole assembly. You don't change individual parts, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, having it like the less parts you have, the easier it is, and the less maintenance you have to do.
Yep. Okay, install the rear stepper mount. Got those perfect. Nice.
By the way, do you know of any 3D printing podcasts? I know there is the Melt Zone and the 3DP Today, I think it's called.
Those are the only two that I listen to. Matter Hackers does one that occasionally is okay. Um, the 3DP Today guys are okay. The guy's a little opinionated for me on some things, but
I have noticed, yes.
and I don't get some of the views he has, but whatever. I mean, seems like a nice guy. He's relatively local to here, probably within an hour's drive of my house.
I mean, it's not exactly a podcast, but um, I feel like Vision Miners videos are they feel kind of podcasty because they're just kind of reporting the news. I feel like that's what most of the podcasts do anyway.
Like
Well,
3D printing
That
news?
installed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Although like they're, I guess, more focused on the commercial side.
I see.
well, and I mean that's just kind of generic podcasting, right? You take your current news items or your current issues and you report on them and then you comment. I mean, that's kind of the default podcast format that almost everybody follows.
I mean, lately I've been noticing like when it comes to things like the melt zone is like I see that on, like, I follow a couple people in the space on Twitter and I see those topics come up like a week before they actually talk about them on the podcast.
Which actually makes sense because they don't do it weekly. I don't know what's their schedule actually. Occasionally, let's put it this way.
I think it's on average 1 to 2 times a month.
Yeah, something
It
like
like
that.
it really varies. Like I guess they gotta wait to get enough topics together to fill out an hour ish of time,
Mm-hmm.
and for their schedules to be clear enough.
Yeah, not to make too much personal block out of it and serve some news as well, I guess.
I mean, both of them also have like primary, content generation that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So the melt zone is just like a side thing when they feel like it.
Okay. That one is not going in there properly. I got a very stuck T-nut. Let's see if it happens to be stuck at a spot it needs to be. Oh, so close. I don't know what's going on with that one.
Thread a screw into it so you can grab a hold with a pair of pliers. That sometimes works.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you. That one going to the trash. Scarred up the inside of the slot. Some of these are inserting just fine, like by fingers, but that one must have had some extra flashing somewhere.
Well, I've got lots of experience with T-nuts. You ought to try putting them into a painted frame.
Oh boy. Did you do one of the Misumi yellow frames?
No, I actually did a black and I painted it prismatic. It's a color shift color. It looks good.
Ooh.
About 90% of them I didn't have any problems with, but there was that occasional spot that, I had, I think, 3 coats of paint and a clear coat on it. So there were a handful of spots where they were iffy, and then, you didn't want to scuff the paint.
Yeah. Not even gonna fight with some of these.
Does anyone know if LDO like has just clear finish kits?
So in other products, like the Prusa Bear project, they have a silver or clear anodize or whatever option. So I mean, they're capable of doing it. I think it's all just a matter of what is the demand for whatever project they're working on.
True. I guess most people want something fancier than just plain
Yeah.
clear aluminum.
If you're gonna do plain clear, might as well order from Misumi or whatever. I think one of the biggest cool things about the LDO stuff is just the post-processing anodizing.
I mean, Masumi does like post machining options to some degree, I think.
But do they have any option to anodize after everything's machined?
No.
I don't think
and
so.
I think their suppliers give them clear and black, and that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
You can do clear, black, yellow, and I think you can do clear. I think silver
Is the
has
yellow an
a.
anodize or a paint?
It's a paint.
It's a.
It's not an anodize. It's a powder coat, some sort of coating, other than, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's used for like safety warning functionality intent.
It doesn't look like I've looked at it. I hadn't seen it in person, but just from what I've seen online, it's not like a, you want to build something pretty type.
I've only seen one build with that.
Was it Minion themed?
Oh,
Okay. Let's see, what's next? How much longer do we have on those? Not long. Rail stops. There they are. One more. There. And what are we using? By 8s and then hammerhead nuts. Who else do we have on here? Oh, we're up to 19 people. Awesome. Hi, Ray.
Shh, not here.
Okay, so what's after those? So front mounts and then more rails. So maybe that'll get us to the, yeah. Oh, I wasn't showing that. Okay, we're gonna do front mounts and then we're gonna do more rails, and hopefully by then the rail guides will be done and I can go around and just center all the rails. So 3x8, and then I think I have, did I bother doing a bag of hammerhead? No, I didn't. So I got a bin of those.
Steve, what kind of rolling T-nuts are you using with that LDO frame?
So these are samples that were sent to me for trying to find T-nuts that resolve this issue. So the roll-in T-nut issue that people are seeing, to the best of my knowledge, applies to both Masumi and LDO frames because they're built on the same profile.
Correct. They both get the same issue.
And we're seeing it kind of a weird thing in that it depends on when the Masumi frames were purchased on whether you have an issue with it or not. But we're also thinking it might be just a quality variance in the T-nuts as well. There's a lot of factors in here. There's a lot of factors. Jason at LDO has been and LDO have been really trying to find a reliable source of them that work, and these are what he sent me, and they're very promising. I've run across a couple here that gave me problems, but I think with any of these, the way these are manufactured, you're going to get the duds. But the vast majority of them that I've put into this printer have required almost nothing to put into the slots. So part of this build right now is testing those because I just got them not very long ago. So using those things in an actual build in this environment.
This is interesting. I had Anthony probably knows we had a discussion about this, and to me it seemed like I was purchasing from the same shop on AliExpress that he did, but mine look a little bit different. So maybe
Here,
it's
let me
also
try this.
variation
Let me see if this ends up
based.
showing. So if you might be able to see the profile of the end of the T-nut. This is one that does not work, and I don't know if you can see the difference, but this one is pointier on that
Uh,
bottom.
can you move it a tiny bit closer to
Oh,
camera?
good call.
Okay.
Let's try this. Okay, and reverse my mind. Can you see here? Let's see if this bottom curve here is shallower. This one's significantly sharper. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And sorry about that. This is so that's the key feature that we're seeing between the ones that work and the ones that don't.
The shallower work.
The shallower ones work. Yeah.
May have been just AliExpress lottery, you know.
So, yeah. So I built my first Voron, a V2, in April, May of 2020. I had a few T-nuts, just random Amazon purchased, whatever, that were a struggle to get in. And that was a Masumi frame. But it wasn't an issue. And now we're seeing this, I mean, something else has changed. Either the T-nut supply has changed, or a slight change in the Masumi profile, because it seems like older ones, there seems to be some sort of cutoff where they stopped working well, and we don't know if it's in the frame or in the T-nuts, but finding these T-nuts with the shallower profile seems to work. And like I said, there's been a couple of them that are stubborn, but then I try another one from the same pile, and
Somebody sneezed in the factory and mixed them all up.
now the everything has something that goes on with just about everything. See, that one went in just with fingers. These seem to have more of a variation in length. I couldn't tell you the exact numbers that I was seeing, but I had to redo a couple of parts on Trident to make sure that they would work with these, because some of them are a little longer than we would expect. Okay, installing the motor mounts.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they're supposed to have a nominal length of 20 millimeters, correct?
Less than that.
Is it? Okay.
I think that's 15, or this one's 13.8, but let's just do a
Gotcha.
little survey here. 13.8, 14.25. You know, that's a pretty significant difference. It's not printer breaking. There was just a couple of spots on the rear Z, where I had it really tight, and I had to loosen that up a bit. Okay.
So I know that when you build a 2.4, there's a couple of spots that like you want to make sure that you get your T-nuts turned in the right direction. Is that still the case kind of with the Gantry, or is there any other spots like that that you need to look for building the Trident?
Yeah, it's the same spots. The idlers here, if I think if you turn the T-nut around, you could put in, and if this idler T-nut was pointing back and your first rail T-nut was pointing forward, they might collide. The manual, if you pay somewhat attention to the orientation in the manual that we put, you should be okay. Most of them don't matter.
Yeah, I remember it drove me crazy on my first build. My second build, I kind of was like, okay, I know about this one when I got to it. You know, it was much easier. So
Yeah. It was a bigger issue on 2.2, where I think you had to pretty much buy a few of the Masumi ones in order to assemble it. I never built a 2.2. I guess I built each sub-assembly for a 2.2 before 2.4 came out, and then I just scrapped it and started over. So I have a definite empathy for those 1.8 builders who, when we released Trident. Okay. Okay, I think I got another 8mm stuck in the pile. Yep. Okay. Z stepper mounts. Make sure they're all good. Okay. Where are we at? Those are almost done. And then rails. We already saw that in the manual. Put this back over here. Okay. Is there anybody in chat right now who's currently at some stage of building a Trident?
Yes.
Well, besides you.
I mean, it depends how loose you want to get with the at some stage.
That's okay.
I'm at the stage of, can my wallet afford this after building a 2.4?
Yeah, like I said, I've got that frame, and I've been playing around with the idea of trying to convert it over. But the plan that I had, if I don't convert it, is, I literally just finished one, a week and a half ago. I finished a 2.4, my second 2.4 or something like that. So my plan was to wait a couple months and do another one for Christmas. And
Oh, okay.
it was going to be the Trident, but I don't know if I'm going to make it that far. My biggest problem is finding places to put them at this point.
Yeah. I very recently removed, so here this light color tan bench was about a foot over this way, and there was a 6-foot bench here instead, and I had a little gap here, and this bench was shifted this way a little bit. So I measured and realized that instead of the 6-foot bench, I can fit an 8-foot bench. So I rebuilt this as an 8-foot bench, and now I have room for at least 2.5 more printers. Oop.
What do you use for bench top? Is it like a kitchen countertop?
I am, yeah. It's just a Formica or whatever with you can see the backsplash here, and I think I put power outlet. You can see it there next to the stickers. Put a power
Yep.
outlet there, and there's a power supply. So I used to help a friend with a electronics project by the name of Megasquirt. It's a automotive fuel injection controller, open source automotive fuel injection controller, and he had a business. So the whole project was around source it yourself, similar to Voron. He started a business selling them pre-assembled, and then wiring harnesses and accessories and stuff like that. So I helped him out with that by doing repair work and sales and inventory management and stuff, and that's when I built this workbench. So the outlet in the back also has a switch that turns on a 12-volt power supply that's mounted on the bottom, and then those banana jacks so I could plug things in when testing boards or different accessory devices that we made or whatever. So I've had this workbench for a very long time.
Oh, I recall you mentioned it on the previous stream as well.
Yeah. And the new bench I built, the light color one, you can't see it, but I built 3 wall jacks into the backsplash, and they're the recessed kind, so I can plug my printers in right at the top with little 2-foot power cables, and I don't have a bunch of cables running around everywhere.
If you're patient, you can kind of go to some of the hardware stores. Like if you're just making a workbench on them, you know, people that want to put them on like actual counters don't want scratched and cracked or whatever. And you can find some that have very little structural issue for almost nothing too. So they're
Oh
a
yeah.
good cheap product to build stuff out of.
Yep. I spent, so I built this May or June. It wasn't very long ago. I spent far more on 2x4s than I did on the countertop. 2x4s are ridiculous.
Yeah, what's up with the prices?
Yeah, I don't know what the source of the problem is. Is it transportation? Is it supply? Is it labor? Everything? All of the above?
Let's be honest, it's probably politics. That usually ruins everything.
I think Woodworking for Mere Mortals had a video about it,
Oh, okay.
or at least that the prices are starting to come down.
I like that guy. I've watched a few of his videos. What was that?
I think I was going to say, you know, without being in that industry, I mean, just from the outside looking in, it's probably more labor, but I think the answer they gave is right, is that it's more to do with the politics is why we have a labor problem more than anything else. It's probably the closer to the answer, but you don't really want to get into politics on something you're going to stream. So
No,
Yeah.
because it ruins everything.
Yep. So, who else is building a Trident?
I'm staring at a box of parts.
Nice.
I just gotta wait for the frame extrusions to arrive.
Are you doing a 1.8 frame conversion, or did you order like from Asumi already configured? Or
Ordered straight from Asumi.
okay,
Just starting from scratch.
perfect.
I was planning on building a 1.8, and then I started seeing on Nero streams, you know, the hints.
Hints, yeah. Is
So,
there all 30 centimeters MGN rails? I think they are.
Correct. And for my 250 build here, they're all the same length.
so when it comes to the MGN rails, specifically the X, RCF has turned around and said that you shouldn't run a single MGN9, even if it's something like a high win. Do you know what his reasoning is?
I think the general idea is, I would guess that we try to give advice that's going to work across the board, right?
So it's
So
if you're running something that you know can handle the forces, then it
yeah,
should be
I mean,
okay.
this is all a DIY have fun project. The green V2 here, I'm running single MGN9 on it, and it's producing beautiful parts. But that's also something I won't just say. I won't go to you and say you are going to have plenty of luck running a single MGN9. It'll work no problem, right?
Nah, the reason I'm asking is because I'm really eyeing up a high win rail for my X-axis
Yeah,
and getting rid of the bottom one,
yeah.
changing the carriage so that it doesn't have the swivel bit, and then trying to make an integrated clicky probe.
It depends what you want to do with your toolhead. If you run a jetpack with a Bowden, you can run a single rail. If you've got a stepper flying around, you need the dual rail.
Or an MGN12.
Or an MGN12.
Huh.
So 2 of my 2.4s, I run jetpacks. Bowden single pet.
So you own half the amount of jetpacks that are in the world?
Good solid
I got a
fun.
jetpack. I
Yeah,
was gonna
don't
put.
touch those printers. They run. They run every day.
Yeah.
That was gonna go on my switch wire, but didn't end up doing it. Okay.
Are you running standard standard afterburner on the green 2.4?
Yes.
I am slowly getting jealous of that color, by the way.
That color is absolutely gorgeous.
Like even with the gray, I just love the green with the like the 2 shades of gray.
Yeah. I always have a hard time picking colors. That's why the orange frame is getting the same graphite and silver combo as the green one, because I really like it.
Hey, let's be fair. I'm the one that picked out the colors for the green one.
That's right.
Well, you did a good job.
Darn straight. And I won't say I directly picked them out. I gave him suggestions based on what I saw. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say that graphite and orange looks, that's spot on. Like I like the green, don't get me wrong, but that orange and gray looks hot.
it is a very good combo.
Okay, so we got all the stepper mounts installed. We got the rails installed and the rail stops. Now we get to assemble the Z-carriages. I'm gonna leave the printer like this and just kind of work around it.
I felt the same way about the gold V0 that you showed me. In the span of 45 minutes, I went from to I really want one.
What color was the printed parts on it?
The one that you had, that you
Oh,
showed
the one
me,
that I
the
made.
gold one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks sharp.
Okay. Oh, those are the wrong ones.
Well, my last one, I told everybody I was going to build one with no purple on it for a change, and I still ended up putting purple panels on it. So I need to build one that's not purple.
Have you tried Blurple?
Not yet. I have to
It's
look that
not
one up.
technically purple, but it's bluish purple.
Okay. Little color accent piece on the bottom of the Z carriages.
Is that just for accent or?
Yeah, and it kind of hides the lead screw nuts.
Ah, right.
That's why I didn't do it for the rear one, because you can't see it anyway. And the printers are getting more and more lacking in accent colors. So anywhere there's an opportunity, I think was a good thing. How long have we been going? What did I start at? I started at 1, huh? Only an hour and a half? That's not too bad. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? We have a nut that goes in there. Lead screw nuts. The other one. Rear. I got the rear over here. And placing them on the carriage. So my MGN9 rail things finished printing. So let's see if I can get them off of here. A little toasty still, but ouch. Stellar red. That's funny. That was already. Let's see. That one. Aside from the Z steppers, have there been any other pain points in sourcing parts for Trident?
Yeah, rest in peace availability of spherical bearings is what I've seen.
Oh, really? That's one that
That
wasn't.
was my first thought when you announced it, that this is going to be used. Like, yeah, this will disappear.
So I used, I don't know what the source was. I got them from Doc, the spherical bearings for the development printer. But for this one, I'm going to put the IGUS equivalent on it. So, is it AliExpress availability or has IGUS run out? Does anybody know?
Fermio still had them, the IGUS, last time I checked. But, well, they are not accepting orders right now, at least maybe until end of the week. Because they're totally swamped.
I got mine from DFH.
Oh, okay.
I think Fermio had them previously as well, because
did.
they were used for the mod of 2.4, if I
Yep.
recall correctly.
The green V2 there has the spherical bearing Z. I had major problems with gantry sag because I was running 0.9 steppers on my Z. I swapped over to the spec steppers and it's been working great since. Okay, I think all of these can come out, all these little rail bumpers. Okay, we're caught up with the manual now, I think. Let's see where we're at. I get my, where did that go? There we go. I'm actually going to deviate just slightly from the manual here. I'm going to attach the lead screw nuts as I put the steppers in instead of. I don't see any issue with that method. It's just my assembly process has been to do it a later step.
Which steppers or where were those sourced from?
Jason directly.
Oh, okay.
I grabbed it's a set of parts to be able to, so the rails came from Jason, the steppers, and the frame.
All right, nice flex, yeah.
12s.
I was a little frightened ordering from Link CNC. I don't know.
I've never ordered from them, but so I don't know what their reputation is for steppers. Let's see, what do they? For the scrolling. Okay, so we're just going to install all the Z-carriages to the MGN 9 cartridges. One very minor change I did, so we adopted the community mod MGN 12 setup, and one really minor thing I did at Eddie's suggestion is change the profile of the, and I'm showing you on a Z carriage, but it's the same thing on the XY joint. The width of this part, this surface here, brought it out just a hair. So the plastic, if you rub on the panels, it'll be plastic rubbing on the panels rather than the heads of the screws. We talked about minor adjustments being done to the parts for the MGN 12 setup, and that was one of them, based on that suggestion. Back. The back one uses in 3x8s. The fronts are by 12s. The rear one is by 8s. It's because of the way things needed to line up. I think that screw might be bad. Yep.
Are the AB Gantry motors the same as you use for 2.4?
Yes.
So they are basically the same across the board,
Correct.
except for V0. Probably.
Correct. Yep. For this printer, we're playing. I'm playing with this one, so that's why I have the 60 millimeter steppers on AB. But the spec is consistent between Trident and 2.4. Okay. Following the steppers. Okay, so I think what the goal for today is going to be, we're going to get the Z steppers installed, and then get the feet on it, the corner feet, and then I'll probably call it for the day and start again sometime during the week. I'll do the continue the stream during the week, but we're still going now. I'm just giving a heads up that we'll probably call it here shortly. So I went on a fairly lengthy bike ride this morning, 50 miles, and my legs are sore. Okay, so let's figure out which direction we want this to.
I was thinking whether you could possibly use Prusa Mark III's stepper motors, but they have 32 millimeter rods. Although
I am fairly confident they will fit. You could potentially have an interference with the front ones if you're running one of the wider tool heads, like the ABBN. It might touch at like Y0 X min and max.
because they may be easier to get right now if those 30 are
I'm
available.
not prepared to say yes, those will work, go out and do it, because I haven't actually seen it on my printer, but I believe there is space. What did we have? So we're going to install these, and these are by 12s.
Pretty neat to watch this because I'm in the process of trying to do my first one here pretty soon. I just
Awesome.
actually got the frame kit ordered today.
A V2 or a Trident?
The 2.4.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the build techniques and things to pay attention to are the same across all of them.
Yeah, I went with the the blue frame, and I think I'm gonna do a blue red for the parts.
Nice. I have a
What size?
oh yeah.
Steve, what do you think about a stepper motor that's 48 deep instead of 40 deep like the LDOs?
As long as the specs are okay, then it'll be fine. There's nowhere on a where they would be used on a V2 or a Trident where you run out of space.
It's just going to hang further down into the skirt, right?
And you're talking about the Z steppers then for this?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
OMC has
Yep. They will.
something
The
similar.
height
It's
won't
just
be a problem.
The body's just 48 deep instead of 40.
Yeah. The height won't be a problem. Is this one of them? No, I need the opposite. Let's see. So this is going to go here, but you can't actually see that. So let's shift this around, and you can kind of get an idea how much space you have.
Yep.
See that? If I wanted to, compared to the LDO steppers, you've got easily another, I mean, it's really 30 millimeters extra space, but I wouldn't go all the way. Where did my stuff go? Yeah, back on the Prusa lead screws, that is a issue if for some reason you were not going to use um, the MGN12X setup. If you went with the dual MGN9, that extra carriage will collide with a 320 millimeter Z. But with the MGN12, the rear Z has all the space you could want.
And I see you all went with integrated lead screw. Is the coupler really bad solution?
You're just introducing another joint.
Mhm.
I have coupled lead screws on my Legacy, but I'm about to swap those out to integrated.
Is there as much of an issue with the rails using couplers?
It might not be, but I haven't tested it. I haven't ran it.
Hmm.
Yeah, this may be more constrained. Than...
The pain point I would worry about, or at least make sure I address. Let me see if I can get a decent angle here. You can see it. So the diameter of this hole here, making sure that your coupler will clear that. And then the height. So if you don't do anything about the mounting of the Z stepper, you're going to lose Z travel. You can do a spacer or rework the mount, and you have that extra 30 millimeters that we saw that you could shift the stepper down. And then you just have to make sure that the lead screw you're attaching to it is still going to give you, and you're not going to run out of it at the top of travel.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I got a box of NEMA 17s, and I
Absolutely, yeah.
try and reuse those if I can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so much of this is give it a shot, see if it works, right? And the worst case, you got to swap out some parts. What's that?
You're telling me.
Okay, so we have the 3 steppers installed. Now we're going to put the feet on, and this will be interesting because I think I run out of height. Oh, I didn't. Here, let's just show you this real quick. We're going to put the feet on with the accent part and pre-install a bunch of T-nuts. Now note there's a combination of M3s and M5s. You got to get the right one in the right spot because space constraints. Let's see, one of these is an M3 and one of them is an M5. The reason for the M3 is an M5 would be very noticeable from the front. I am going to turn this back upside down and shift it back there. Bunch of accent pieces.
What did you say they were? 60 mil on the AB?
Yes, yeah, there's 60 millimeter.
09?
Huh?
09 or 1.8?
09.
Talkie.
Yeah. That's just one of those. We're gonna play, see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So
Well, with the static gantry, you can do that kind of thing.
yeah. So these accent parts, they look pretty close to symmetrical. They're not. So you just have to be careful and make sure you get the right accent for the right side of the corner foot. Unfortunately, I couldn't make them symmetrical, and I couldn't make them different enough to be immediately obvious. Because sometime in the middle of development, Mr. Jared over there said, hey, we need to use these guitar amplifier feet because they're better. And I said, okay.
You're welcome.
I said, I don't know about that, but I'll try them. And yeah, so if you'll notice, if I try to put that one on, let's see if I can see, it doesn't line up. But then I realized that I can make the amplifier feet work, and you can still put a compressor foot on there. You can put whatever fits within that diameter, and it'll work. So there ended up being no reason not to do it, and they're actually pretty nice. So, and cheap. They're super cheap. You get 8 of them for like $6 on Amazon, and I think even cheaper on LE.
You can buy them anywhere.
Yeah. That's anybody who's somewhat new to the project. It's really a big thing for us to make sure that sourcing is worldwide and as easy as we can make it. I mean, the many design decisions on this printer were based on that exact concept.
I know
Yeah, I
I
think
try to bypass Ollie as much as I can just because of the super long wait times for here in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all laughing when we were watching the stream. I think in chat, somebody were talking about, well, you can get them tomorrow, or you can get them for this, or you can get. I mean, that was the main point. But I think that night I had them delivered from Amazon within like 4 hours. But it's buying amp parts in Nashville is like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern was with those G5C bearings and finding the IGUS source, or realizing there was an IGUS source for that, even if it's not terribly more expensive, but they are. Really eased our minds on speccing those for the pivot points at the corners.
Yeah, they offer such a benefit. It's worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
One of those times it's worth doing.
Okay. Those are all installed. Now we got to get a selection of M3s, and let's see if I can manage to not mix up where these go.
I think the hardest part for me to find right now was the PTFE wiring instead of the silicone.
Okay. Are you, what country are you in?
US, I mean, I did find some finally, but
I mean,
everybody just really thinks it's gold right now.
yeah, really Remington, or what is it, PowerWorks?
Yeah, I ended up ordering Remington.
Yeah, and they're quick. Their shipping is quick, and for
I
this,
actually went to Amazon to get it because it was cheaper through Amazon than to buy it from them directly, which was crazy.
you might be surprised when it comes, because I ordered this, and this was like, I mean, this is, how many feet was this? I think this is 250 feet, and this is 100 feet. It didn't come in a very big box for what it cost. I think it was like $130. But I expect to get more than a printer out of this too.
I think the box that I picked up was 10 different colors that Each roll was 25 foot.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got that box plus a spool of the red and black and a like 18 gauge for the thicker wiring, and yeah, it's tiny. And I will also never go back to silicon after using this stuff.
Yeah, I already had all the silicone bought. I had like 1,000 foot roll, and I'm going, well, I'll find a use for it somewhere.
It is.
Make sure you've got good wire strip.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just going to mention. The only pain point I have with the PTFE wiring is stripping it and not pulling that wire halfway out of the bundle as I'm trying to strip it. Can't really see this. I've got a fairly tall bench. See where that. Oh, I should have been.
I want to say too. I think for the 250, I think I went to a bigger gauge too. I think it was what 24 or something recommended. I think I went down to like the 20.
So 20 for your whole harness might not be the greatest. 20 gauge is at the point where it gets fairly stiff. 24. So for PTFE wiring, in terms of talking about a global source, the things you want to look at for that is the strand count. At 24 gauge is where some manufacturers have a cutoff between 7 conductors and 19 conductors. Remington is one that their 24 gauge is 19 conductor. Many of the 24 gauge suppliers on AliExpress are 7 conductor at that size. 22 gauge would be the best Ali sourced PTFE gauge for. I think you can get away with it for the entire harness, the entire DC part of the harness, as long as you're running 24 volt.
I take it back. I actually did do 22 gauge. I just had to look it up just
Yeah,
now.
I know I run the 20 gauge just for my heater, just for the extra overhead. And those two wires, I wouldn't want to run 15 of those in the Gantry bundle. So
I think for my custom bed wires, I had them. I've got 12 gauge.
In 2 years, COVID will be over. We'll have as many free chips as we want. We'll all be running can head buses anyway. So.
This is the way.
Let's see.
Get that down to 5 wires.
Yeah. I already had the 18 gauge silicone, so I was just going to use that for the bed.
Okay. So
I honestly thought you were about to say that you were using that for your gantry then.
Yeah, no. Oh no.
So real quick, I'll show you on this other one. Let's see if I can get there. And this is one case where I didn't pay close enough attention to the manual. The orientation of this T-nut does matter. Let me see if I can find the right. If you look at where it needs to go, the orientation it's on right now, if that T-nut's too long, you're not going to be able to get a good access to it. I got to flip that around. And the manual actually shows it flipped the other way. I just didn't pay attention. So, fortunately, hoping I don't have any with. There we go. Very nice.
You're optimistic that this will be over in 2 years. I think, at least the shortage.
Okay.
Well, I read somewhere, where was it? I think Prussia's Twitter or something, when they were discussing this, that they are now booking and the delivery dates for STM chips are like 100 weeks right now, which is 2 years.
Ooh.
I just looked at the Remington. The 22 is 19 strand, it looks like.
Correct. Yeah. That 24 is that you got to be careful at the 24 gauge. There, like I said, the Remington is good. The Ali stuff, I haven't seen any that. Oh, and there's a hole in the part here for this wrench access, for this screw access. I haven't seen any 24 gauge that's 19 strand on Ali. So.
No, it's all 22, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of chip shortages, isn't TSMC making an American plant?
I haven't heard of that. I
Or is
know
it Intel that are doing it?
Intel. Definitely Intel. Not sure about
I know it's
TSMC.
just one massive plant that's meant to be in Arizona, I think it is.
Wasn't
doing
Texas Instruments opening up another one?
I can't remember, but I really hope that more start appearing.
Yeah,
It never
TSMC's
happens
spending
again.
$10 billion on an Arizona plant.
Yeah, I'm in the semiconductor industry, and yeah, it's in Arizona, and I've heard crazy numbers like up to 25 billion and such on it. I think TSMC is going to divest a lot of their technology over here to secure it, because China be crazy.
Yeah, but that's a long way out for TSMC, and they just raised all their prices by 25% for their their contract
Yeah, valid
manufacturing
from December, as far as I know.
Our amplifier feet.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I got really confused when I just came back and you guys are talking Remington and gauges, and I was like, are you guys allowed to talk about that on the server? I don't think so. But then you started talking like strands, and I was like, oh, wire. Okay, makes more sense.
Is it actually the same company? Isn't there like 1M and 2M letters?
One's wire, one's guns. A little different.
I think at this point, finding parts for printer is easier than finding bullets, so we're still ahead of the game.
It is. I know I'm pretty heavy into the water cooling and computer stuff, and I've got a buddy that runs a nonprofit that like gives away computers to vets and frontline first responders and stuff. And he actually gets a lot of parts from like AMD, things like that. He can't even get, he's got like 24 builds that he can't complete just because they don't have the cards to even give him. So, I mean, it's getting pretty tough to find anything out there.
One of the nice things about these feet is they do have a metal washer in there. Just makes them nicer to tighten down than the compressor feet. All for cheaper.
Those are amp feet.
Yeah.
How do you attach them? The holes seem to be a little bit bigger than most common screws we use.
We still use an M5 by. It gets centered in the printed part. I mean, the part is designed for this particular foot. Anything smaller than that will work as well.
So this is another thing that people can Gucci on, right?
Oh, absolutely. You get your your audio file out there that has their, I don't know what the going rate for Gucci amplifier feet is, but
It's audio, so it's going to be astronomical.
Exactly. Does Monster still exist? Do they make them?
Oh wow, I haven't actually heard someone talk about like monster audio in so long. I'm
And
actually
just
not
to be
sure if they
clear,
do exist.
Have to do a
Monster
dual
Audio was
take on
never
that.
audiophile.
Well,
Well, I know that, but
and
still, I just
and
haven't heard their name in so long.
and neither am I apparently, right?
I think they had harvest last year with all the people building home cinemas and other stuff. How much would monster wiring harness cost for Voron?
Wait, they make RGB keyboards and mice now?
What?
Yep.
What? Can you send the link?
Just go to their website. It's a monsterstore.com.
They're trying to come out with the RGB uh, wire wire combs as well now.
So I mean they're diversifying. I guess that's what it is. Like you can't just make low priced audio cables forever.
All right, so as I'm sitting here, I'm going, you know what? I've got some Sane Smart TPU that almost matches the color of my freaking printer. I wonder if I could make some square TPU feet that would match it perfectly.
Here, I don't know if you can see in the corner here. I printed all TPU feet for my V2s. Down here in the very bottom corner.
I kind of
Oh,
wondered the same thing. I've got some blue TPU that I thought would look really cool, but I haven't tried running any TPU yet on my two Chirons.
I had a lot of trouble running the Ninja Flex. I mean, you would get a run and it would run good, and you know you would have no problems. And then you'd have a problem, and then you know it was just all problems. And then you'd get another run and it'd run good. But this Sane Smart, it's just a smoother TPU, and I've had no problem running it on anything I've tried to put it in so far.
I've got the Overture TPU blue.
How is that? Because I had someone asking me about that. If the
I
Overture
haven't
stuff is
ran it
any
yet. I
good.
really want it though. I finally made a BMG setup for one of my Chirons, and I'm really looking forward to trying that.
why stop at the feed? I mean, there is a running joke here about Voron TPU Voron.
It's even higher impact resistance than nylon, I hear.
Gotta
Okay.
go all in.
The
TPU
impact
Voron that prints
just
feet.
bounces right off.
Exactly. If you drop it because you're angry.
It's fine. Yeah.
It makes
And
docs
and
bounce when you
and
talk
uh,
about doing it too.
and elastic deflection doesn't matter because you can just use input shaping to account for the extra flex. I mean, you're probably
No,
going to have to run it at like very low accelerations, but you know.
So this is a great place. Now I'm not going to jump off a stream. I'm probably going to stick around if anybody wants to chat. But I think this is a great place to stop for the assembly because the next section is the x-axis. So I'm going to stop recording now. But I want to thank everybody for coming on and keeping me company. And I will do this again. I don't know what the schedule is going to be. I may jump on tomorrow night and just start, jump in chat and start recording. So just keep an eye out. I'll try to announce it though. So thank you.
Looking good, Steve.